Okay, question 6H1 from the Statistical Rethinking second edition. Before running this code, make sure you've installed and loaded the rethinking package with these first two code blocks. Okay, so in this question, we are referring back to the WaffleDivorce data set, and we want to find the total causal influence of Waffle Houses on divorce rate. And we want to justify our model with a causal graph or a DAG. So the first thing we'll do is just load the data with this code block. And I think what this question is asking us to do is to imagine that somehow the number of Waffle Houses in a state is in fact having an impact on divorce. So I mean, I don't think it takes much explanation to say that that wouldn't be your first hypothesis, to say the least. But for the sake of this question, I guess I will imagine that I am hypothesizing that it does have an effect. Okay. So you're free to come up with your own causal model, but the one that I will use is something like this, where southernness, right, the state being in the south, is affecting both the Waffle Houses in the state, as well as the divorce rate in the state, and that also Waffle House is having an effect on divorce. Okay, and this is the code that you'd need to make that DAG or make your own DAG. Okay. So the question is, given the assumptions that you have put forward that are encapsulated in your DAG, in your causal model, how would you go about finding the causal effect, the total effect of Waffle Houses on divorce? And in the DAG that I have chosen, we see that there is a direct effect of W on D, Waffle Houses on divorce. And but there is also this other path that goes from W to D that goes through S, and this is a non-causal path because S here is acting as a fork, affecting both Waffle Houses and divorce. And so in our regression, we would need to condition on S. Okay, and this is a simple enough example. But if I had a more complicated example, I could actually ask the Daggity package, which is how we drew the DAG. I could ask the Daggity package, what do I need to condition on to find the total effect of W on D? And that would be in this code right here. Adjustment sets, the DAG that you're using, which is what I've called this DAG. Okay. The exposure, or the exposure is another word for the thing that we think is causing the outcome, W. And what is the outcome, D? And if I run this, it gives me S, right, which we already correctly diagnosed. Okay. And I think that probably the question is fine if we stop here. But just to go and push forward a little bit, so we would actually want to test the feasibility of our DAG from our data and other tests as well. And so I'm actually going to run the regression that is implied here. I'm going to regress D on W and S, on Waffle Houses and southernness or south. Okay. And I think just for variety, rather than using the rethinking notation that we've been using, or using a Bayesian model, I'll use a frequentist model using just the LM, the linear model function, which is a base function in R. Again, it's not a Bayesian function, it's a frequentist function, but that's okay for our purposes here. So if I run this, right, so here's LM, linear model. I'm regressing divorce on these two variables, okay? And then here's my readout, okay? And so we notice that, probably as expected, the effect of Waffle Houses on divorce is basically 0, and the p-value suggests that the evidence that Waffle Houses is importantly associated with D, once I account for southernness, is non-existent. Okay, so that is it for this one.